sound. 1, 2, 3. Look at me. Paparazzi over here. First race started in Ferndale, California in 1969. It actually was 68. And my son would leave his tricycle out front in the art gallery, front of the art gallery. I have a gallery called Hobart Galleries in Ferndale, California. Anyway, he'd leave his tricycle out there, and it looked terrible. It looked like a daycare center. And so I thought, well, I've got to do something about it because this very Victorian, pristine town couldn't have a tricycle sitting in front of an art gallery. So I thought, well, I'll fix it up into some kind of weird sculpture. We're in the 60s, remember? So I put filigree on it, a seat for myself and a seat for my son, and a place to have lunch, and potted plants, and lights, and a roof, and everything else. So it was really a vehicle. And then it got top heavy because it was about 7 feet tall, so I put trainer wheels on it, so it became a pentacycle. Since that time, it has gone unbelievably wild.
Wait for the dog!
Hey!
I'm born in the sign of Pisces with Sagittarius rising and a Leo moon. So that kind of tells you the story about me. I'm confused, and I am. I feel like I should always have 2 votes on everything, but Sagittarius makes me an adventurer, Pisces makes me an artist, and Leo makes me want to tell you about it. I have a Pisces moon, or Mercury's in Pisces, which means I have a creative, artistic mind, and my actually my Jupiter, which is an important sign, is in the sign of Aquarius, which makes me a weirdo, and I love weird things. And this race can certainly be considered as weird. I think creativity is contagious. I think once you get a taste of it, you start realizing it's so open-ended. Like the beatnik generation added its part, the hippie generation added its part, the yuppie generation added its part. I think all these people added something to give the freedom of art. Art is like a can without a lid. There's no roof on this. You can go artistically, can take you anywhere, to the moon. You're back! Welcome to the planet Earth! I've been an aircraft mechanic. I got a license and everything to be an aircraft mechanic. I think it's wonderful being an aircraft mechanic because I learned more about art than any other art class I've ever had. I studied a little bit at UCLA, a little bit at University of Maryland, but always those were just those extension courses and not real. But what I really got out of art was, in fact, I tell people out there, if you're going to be an artist and you want to take a class, take an art history class. Learn what the masters have done, see what levels they've gone to and how much further you can go. So I say art history is really the way to go, and or any field. I don't care what you study, it's going to have something to do with your artwork. Like aircraft mechanic, I learned weight and balance. I learned about center of gravities, things like that, and space with materials, balances. So I learned all these things, but from aircraft school.
I got it, very cool.
Looking good, looking good.
Funky looking.
Get up a little bit further so you're off the
And look at all the engineering. Can you imagine? Look at these right now they're solving this problem. They're going to clamp their floats on this machine. The dog just went out. They had a device for lowering their floats, and propellers drop into place. It's kind of a James Bond or a car like. Actually, my creativity came from the fact that I had this mad desire to do artwork. The first thing I ever did that was artistic was decorate field workers' sheds or shacks. And I did that before I even knew what decorating was. But I knew that there was a proper, clean way to be this. And I knew that out of order came a certain discipline that would made it safe for me to live. I was really afraid of non-artistic way of life, trashy ways of life. One of my most important people in my life are Raymond Rigby, who was an artist that came to live with my stepfather. And while he was living there, he showed me that you could go from the spray can to the art gallery. He showed me that I could go from building something to showing it in an art gallery and making a living. He actually got a check in front of me one time, and I thought, whoa, you can make a living doing this. And then, so from then on, I took it serious. In fact, I even opened an art gallery in 1962. And I started collecting money for my artwork. And one day I was driving down the road and I realized I'm driving down the road on my own art money. And I was tickled to death. There's something exciting. I used to race cars, drag racer, and I learned that you work all night and then you race the next day. Well, I got into that habit, that good feeling. I love the smell of grease. I love bearings at work. And I love all these kind of mechanical things that mechanics have a problem. First of all, they won't forgive you of anything. But then they're also exciting because you can depend on them. If you know you twist a rod at the other end, it's going to twist the same way, kind of, or pretty much. Anyway, so I think it's the excitement is the smells and the cool air and the early mornings and the fact that you're working on an invention that's never been seen before by anybody in the world. I mean, it's a brand new item, and it's out of your head.
I'm Rolando Botti, and this is the road boat, and it's going to be fixed up and ready for next year. I need to work on the cables and get some better cable connections. Yeah, here, I'll show you how my steering works. It's still doing it. See, that's my steering there. Oar mechanism there. All right. Getting there.
We've been so lucky, and knock on wood and scatter the thought, as my grandmother would say. We've only had one guy really hurt himself, and he'd lost a thumb, and he got it cut off on a chain sprocket while we were rolling down the road, and we said, don't do that, you're going to hurt yourself. So he did, but he's trying to pick up his thumb, and he can't pick it up because he doesn't have a thumb. Anyway, he got it, and he stuck it back on his finger, and he said, here, just let me off this next house, and I'll call the hospital, and I'll go get it fixed. And sure enough, he got it fixed. They sewed it back on, and right now I saw his thumb the other day, and it's just fine.
Well, we started out with a 100-pound eye, fiberglass eye up on top of that pole right there, and about halfway through it broke off and almost killed us. But other than that, everything's been going pretty good.
See, if you look at life and you see the positive side of everything, and it's there. If you see the grumpy side, I'm sorry for you, get therapy. The sculpture race has, it gives people a set of problems that they can solve. Now, they don't try it if they can't solve it, and if they don't solve it, we get to see them fail, and that's fun.
Oh, the dog's taking a running start.
I'm dying here.
You've got to go.
But the most exciting thing that happened to me was I rolled over this 60-foot, 14-foot tall machine, rolled over in the bay, and there were 20 people on board, and I kept counting 19. And I was scared to death. I could see somebody down there struggling, trying to get out of the machine in 40 foot of water in the ocean. And I thought, oh my God, this is horrible. And then somebody said, you're not counting yourself, Hobart. And I wasn't. And so all of a sudden, a terrible nightmare turned into a wonderful outcome. everybody was safe, and we'd all survived this great thing. And then we were all so good about it. We were having fun with it. We were laughing and joking and everything. Coast Guard was a little serious. They didn't understand us. Look at this elephant coming around the corner here.
All right. Sound like a ship going down.
Turn it a little more, turn it a little more.
Get out of the way, hon.
Now you're lined up. You're lined up.
Oh, it's a wonderful psychic landscape. I've probably over the years have built maybe 100 sculptures. They've gone anywhere from a one-man pentacycle, or two-man, a boy and a man, to a 60-foot, 14-foot tall Quagmire Queen, which had 20 people on board. So I've gone the gamut, and I've even had a human-powered, people-powered bus, which I thought was really going to save the world, but it didn't. But I failed, and I failed. In fact, a friend of mine said, Hobart, let's test it before we go to the crowd. And I said, no, if I'm going to fail, I want thousands of people watching. I want to fail with glory. That we have an award called the Mediocre Award, and that award is the middle of the pack. And if you've ever eaten watermelon, you know the best part's in the middle. If you've ever picked anything out of an assembly line, it's the middle. That's where you get the quality. So now this is we have a tendency to shoot for the extreme, like the best or the fastest or the most best engineered or whatever, and those are in there. We address those issues because they're important, but they are in the extreme department. So the best example of kinetic sculpture race is in the Mediocre Award, which is in the middle.
And you know, figure out all the time infractions and everything like that. So it's anyone's guess at this point.
Trying is everything. If you don't try, forget it. Like if, you know, like they say, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
The Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jump bird and shun the Fermius Bandersnatch.
Oh God!
Next person.
Oh.
What a pit crew!
That was wonderful.
Actually, we had one of them break the speed limit in a town. It was only 25 miles an hour, but that's pretty scary when you're going down the road at 25 miles an hour with 2 tons of something you put together. So one lady broke her ankle on it, sprained her ankle, didn't break it. But anyway, we were racing off down this hill and she got scared and jumped off. It was a bad move. At 25 miles an hour, that's pretty quick. Banishment is an important part of this race. And the fact that banishment means that you've been removed. That means you're an incurable case. You've done something horrible like, oh, I don't know, a motor tow or something, but if you get caught at it, you can be banished. Now, we do have a rule that says cheating is a privilege, not a right, but that means that you got to get away with it. You can still get caught. So anyway, the banishment rule is the last thing we have to, we've only had to banish really one person, and it was kind of a joke anyway, but if somebody tries to hurt somebody else or something like that, they get banished. So it's not an honor award at all. It's all by itself. It means that you're taken out of the computer, you're off the scrolls, you don't get any more news, you really become a very lonely person. We're sorry for you. We might even help you get therapy if you wanted it.
Has anyone been banished today?
Banished?
We don't banish anyone.
I really think the sculpture race is going to save the world. I think that what happens is you've got to have purpose for people. If you give them purpose, then they start to understand that problems are okay and the problems that they can solve. And so when they start to solve the problems, then they realize, well, bring me more purpose, bring me more problems, because that gives me purpose. That makes me feel good when I solve them.
Hey.
So the real blessing is problems. This is Hobart Brown saying, I'm an adult and I want to have fun, and I can give you a reason. It'll make kids want to get older, but I'm doing it because I want to have a good time. And I am having a good time.